Welcome, everyone. I am delighted to introduce you to Christina Lord, an inspiring and dynamic force in the world of personal development and resilience coaching. As the founder of Authentic Action Coaching, Christina is dedicated to help individuals break free from limiting patterns and navigate life's challenges, stepping into their zone of brilliance with confidence and clarity. She's not just a coach, she's an inspirational guide for those seeking to elevate their mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. With a unique blend of energy leadership coaching, mindfulness practices, and breathwork techniques, Christina empowers people to reconnect with their purpose, develop resilience, and raise their frequency to experience a fuller and more vibrant life. Drawing from her own transformative experiences, including overcoming professional burnout, loss, and personal growth, she has designed a powerful approach that helps her clients not just to survive, but to thrive in every area of life. In this conversation, Christina will share insights on authentic living, the journey towards self-discovery, and practical tools for achieving true health, happiness, and abundance. Her work aligns beautifully with the vision of happy, healthy, and wealthy, inspiring us all to face life's big questions and unlock our true potential. Please join me in welcoming Christina Lord. Christina, first of all, please let me say how very grateful I am that you are joining us today. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with us and share your wisdom. Thank you so much.
No, lovely. Thank you for inviting me, Georgina. I'm very excited to be having this conversation.
It's excellent. Thank you. Me too. I'd like to start with a little bit of background about you. Could you please tell us a little bit about how you got into the authentic action coaching world and how your journey has developed so far?
Yes, just a small question to start, but yeah, I'll keep it concise. So yeah, based here up in the Northeast, from the Northeast originally. I guess my journey of coming to the world of coaching and energy leadership started around 10 years ago. Before I retrained in coaching, I worked in marketing, events, advertising agencies, and brand packaging. So very fast-paced environments, a lot of hustle culture, long hours working, a lot of fun. But there were specific periods of a lot of stress, and which led ultimately to a few burnouts. And some of those burnouts coincided with some personal losses. I lost my mum in 2010 to cerebral lymphoma, to brain cancer. So that was a very short amount of time from diagnosis to her passing. And then I lost my dad just quite recently in 2022. So those losses, those profound losses of really, losing both parents has been a marked piece of me learning about life, about myself, and really taking my experience of energy leadership really to the next level, both higher and lower. So I can very much say that I have come to kind of walk my talk. I can safely say that in many respects, I am my own guinea pig with a lot of these concepts. So yeah, going from a lot of high stress situations led me probably about now 7 or 8 years ago to retrain in coaching. It's something that I've always been interested in. I've always been so curious about how humans tick in psychology, but also in the more kind of years that have followed, a little bit more of a spiritual interest. We'll go on to discuss, I'm sure, that a lot of the times our deepest challenges in life actually result in the biggest growth. It's not fun to go through, but we have to grow through what we go through. So that's why always willing and excited to have these conversations, to talk about being able to build our resilience, but in a way that isn't grounded in force, and that actually is learning about how our energy levels work within us and work around us, so that we can bring more conscious choice, more awareness into how we are into the world. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, and it continues, right? Riding the waves of life. That's how I like to express it.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. It sounds like, yeah, you have been on quite a journey, and you're still on it. We're all still learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it sounds like you've been through it, and I really love what you said there about making the choice to become more authentic on your own terms, rather than waiting for something maybe really negative to happen in your life before you're then forced into that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, how do you feel that your personal experiences have shaped your view of life and death and living fully?
Great question. I think the main things that have shaped me probably was my dark night of the soul. I guess my first dark night of the soul. There's been a few, and I'm not writing off that there's going to be more. But the more we go through, the more we experience and can create space for those moments. And so I would say that, yeah, and it was coming up to, it will be 10 years ago that I can say that my kind of world, in terms of what I knew reality to be, in a career that I was climbing the ladder, I was married, and looking to do the next thing on the I'll be happy when blueprint, that one that you get past when you're younger, of like, well, check all of these boxes and then you will be happy. I found myself realizing that I was on the upper levels of this ladder, but I was questioning if it was resting against the right wall. I had checked many of these boxes, but hadn't felt this fulfillment that I guess I was trying to, that was promised to me. I guess I felt like society had promised me. And I think that's when we start to seek. So you mentioned before about authentic action coaching. That whole name came into being because of my own experience, that I realized in that first dark night of the soul that for some time I had started to abandon myself. What do I mean by that? I mean, I wasn't living truly by what I valued. And I later came to learn, when I did my coach training, that I was actually living by other people's values, by the values that were set by maybe friends, family, and the working environment that I was in, because it was, well, this is what you do, isn't it? This is what's expected of you. And I think my soul became tired. And it's not that kind of tired where a good sleep will fix it. It's that soul tiredness where I believe it's part of the universe, part of your spirit, part of your energy that basically is trying to get your attention. And I can firmly say, and I use the analogy all the time of, we know the American films where the boy is downstairs and the girl's in the window, and he's throwing pebbles at the window and trying to get the girl's attention. And she can ignore it, right? Because it's like, what's that noise? But for me, it's almost like the universe was sending me these messages, these pebbles, but I didn't have time to stop. But then the pebbles became stones, then they became rocks, then bricks. And then finally, it was almost like someone said up there, she's not listening, send her a bigger rock. And it was almost like, life orchestrated this huge boulder, which is a life change that I couldn't ignore, that it was so confronting, and it ended something that I thought would just continue. And so it stopped me in my tracks to say, what are you going to do about this? So that really was the end of my marriage, and realizing that my job hadn't been fulfilling me in some time. So it left me with some very confronting conversations, and that led me. And I remember the night still where I had felt like I'd hit rock bottom, like I had nothing. All of these things were getting taken away from me. And, I can remember thinking to myself, I've got nothing. And then it was almost the light of awareness, the other side of the coin flipped. And I suddenly thought, hold on, I have nothing. Huh. Okay, I can do whatever I like. I have savings, I have this, I have these opportunities. And so in that moment, I started to, and I call it diving for light, because sometimes you've got to go down into the darkness, into the unknown, into the nothingness, to shine the light of, actually, what can you do? What is this calling for you to do? And then that led me to kind of hit the effort button on my life, which is what I did. Bought a backpack at age 35 and I traveled the world for a year. And that was the beginning of my, She-Rose journey, basically.
That's amazing. Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. I couldn't agree more. I think that it is often in the depths. And I love what you said there about diving for light. I've never heard that before. And it really does make a lot of sense to me as well. I think that a lot of people watching this will probably feel the same way, that once you are at the very depths and you feel like you have nothing left, it is almost like the universe becomes, it screams at you, doesn't it? Because it's telling you the direction that you're in, or heading in, or if you stay on this path and keep ignoring it, it's going to take you to somewhere where it's not your real self. It's not your true self. And it's up to you to listen. I think the signs are always there. I love she said about the boy throwing stones up at the window. That's a really great way to put it. And I've definitely experienced that too. So I'd like to ask you just a few general questions. I'd like to know, in your opinion, what does it mean to live an authentic life? And how does that contribute to overall happiness, health, and wealth?
Great question. And I'd alluded to it earlier that when I went through my coach training, so I was living in America at the time, found energy leadership as a body of coaching. And it very much looks at everything being energy. Your thoughts create how you feel, create then the behaviors and the actions that you take or don't take, and that it's all interconnected. For me, the authenticity piece came about, and why I came up with the name of my business, Authentic Action Coaching, came out of the realization when we studied our values, which are really kind of like the roots of your tree, if you like. If we are a tree, if we can ground into what we care about the most, it gives you a sense of strength. And so then when, the winds of change do blow through us, and they do, as we know, the storms of change, if you're more rooted in what is important to you, then you're less likely to kind of come crashing down, and you can stay rooted into what you believe to be true. And that will be tested, and that's what makes it stronger. So authentic action for me was all about that discovery of what's important to me, what do I care about, what's a big hell yes for me, and what's a hell no. And the clearer you get on that, a magical thing happens, because it starts to clear the path ahead. Authentic action is about alignment to what you value, because when you get clear on what it is you give a damn about, that gives you fuel. It gives you clarity to move forward into the unknown, because it almost gives you this trust and knowing that I may not know where exactly I'm going, but I know that what I will see as opportunity, I'll recognize it because I'm clear in what I care about, as opposed to just generally being open to everything. You can sometimes get lost off the path. And so certainly with the coaching clients I work with, doing your values work is extremely important to understand yourself at a deeper level. And, those values can change, of course. Our priorities in our 20s are very different to our 30s, 40s and beyond. So it is about every so often reviewing those values. I call it your inner navigation. So it allows you to overlay maybe challenges you're having, questions, options that are before you, and starting to ask, what is this in alignment with what I care about? And it asks you to challenge maybe what you care about and stress test it in a way to be able to move forward from a place of clarity and knowing about yourself. And it doesn't, your path doesn't have to look like anybody else's. I think this is the other thing that I see a lot of, that we can compare ourselves overly to each other. I think, there's no surprise then that we say, comparison is the thief of joy, because your authentic joy might look incredibly different to somebody else's, and that's okay. So really, the authenticity piece is about alignment. It's about knowing what you value. And then it's about taking authentic action in the direction of what you value. Then really what happens is you start to become magnetic, because you are pointed towards, you're connecting with people that vibrate with you, that resonance. That's why it is a vibrational resonance. When people share the same kind of energy, like you and I, Georgina, when we met, it was like, oh yeah, we're speaking the same language. You can feel the same high vibing energy. And that's just an indicator, right? That's an indicator that, you know, you are with somebody who is like-minded. And that's information. Everything is information.
Absolutely, that's fantastic insight. And yeah, I mean, I'm agreeing with everything that you say, but you are right. When you and I first met, it was an instant click, and it's so nice when you feel that with somebody, that they're vibing on your level, if you like. And I think that a lot of that is authenticity. If you are being authentic to yourself and true within your own values, like you were saying, I think that you can pick up on that, because it's all about the world that we can't see. And even though we might speak words, or our body language speaks, I think there's something else going on as well. It's an energy language.
Yeah, it's what's beneath the words, because we're master storytellers as human beings. We have to question what's really true here, and is it, you know, a bias, you know, a negative or positive bias that we're overlaying. And that's why a huge part of this is, yes, it's mental, but it's also emotional, and it's instinctual. So it's kind of those three energy centers of your critical thinking, which is your mindset, but it is kind of your right, wrong, good, bad, your kind of moral code, if you will. But then your heart center is very much a powerful, energetic resonance that you can feel with another person. So it is very much our humanness. Away from our egoic mind of everything having to make sense and good, bad, right, wrong. You know, the mind piece wants to put everyone in a box. Yeah. And so if you meet a person where you can't fit them in a box, then sometimes that can feel a bit unnerving. Mind you, with other people, they specifically might go for people who don't fit in any box for that very reason. But then the final thing is your instinctual, your gut. That's why they call it. What does your gut tell you? Yeah, so that's a deep inner knowing that we all need to reconnect back into, because I think sometimes we live in here and we need to get back into the heart center and the gut instinctual place as well.
Absolutely, that's incredible insight. So in your view, how does a person raise their frequency in their daily life to cultivate more positivity, well-being, and abundance in their daily life?
Yeah, so this is where the challenge lies. So the three words I would use are practice, practice, practice. I have shelves full of books. I listen to a whole lot of podcasts. I have my own podcast. I use a lot of, I'm just, drinking information, and I have a real hunger for knowledge and always learning. But I think for some of these practices, or some of these concepts rather, we need to shift out of intellectually learning something and into the physical practice of it, to the embodiment of what we're talking about. So I suppose to keep it quite simple, so the energy leadership model I work within, it might bode well to describe that. So if you imagine a funnel, and the funnel obviously is kind of very narrow at the bottom and it's very wide at the top. And I deal with these 7 levels of consciousness, of awareness. So the very bottom is the antithesis of fear as we experience it of human beings. And obviously that is needed. We have our fight or flight response in our bodies. And that's because we are essentially, our central nervous system is designed to sense danger and to react accordingly. But as we've evolved as human beings, and as our technology, as we've seen, is increasing at such a fast rate. I mean, even just in the last 2 years alone, looking at how quickly AI and other modalities have exploded, there is a lot of information coming at us. And so what this framework does, I call it kind of the framework of freedom. And you can see one, where you are on this energetic framework, because we are ricocheting up and down it all the time, from kind of feeling like the world's against us, so being in the bottom of the funnel where we are problem focused, where we think that we are at the effect of life, you know, why me, this is so unfair, we've all been there, right the way up as we go through to like the midsection where we can tolerate and rationalize and just keep moving forward anyway, but we're still constricted, we're still kind of hanging on to the problem, right the way up to the higher frequencies, which is actually just seeing that all of life is simply information. It's not good or bad, it's not right or wrong, it's just energetic, it's just different frequency. And essentially we as human beings have conscious awareness, we have conscious choice. I would like to say that, you know, being consciously aware is the easy path. I don't think it is. It doesn't feel that way.
Yeah.
I actually look back and think, God, when I was more unconscious and just, you know, unaware of what was really going on for me, was that easier? Maybe in some respects, because with conscious choice, comes responsibility, that we have to be responsible for the part we're playing in our own suffering. And that is a really hard pill to take, because we have to own that I am maybe, you know, staying in a relationship that I know deep down is not good for me.
Yeah.
But I have to come to the realization that I have the power to change that, and that I can detach and move away from that. So I don't ever think, I mean, I know we talk about within certain circles enlightenment and being high frequency. I don't actually believe that anyone can stay in this ethereal, top of the funnel, freedom state all the time.